Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Wake Up Missoula. It is the last Friday, or the last day of July. It's July 31st, 2026. I'm back again for the next 2 weeks before we start doing our horror camp for MCAT. There is, I think, at least one more slot available for anyone who's 14 and above, around high school age. You know, anybody, teenager looking to up their movie-making skills. We're going to be making horror movies that week from August 10th through the 14th. The fair kicks off today. Missoula Western Montana State Fair kicks off today and goes until Sunday. They're going to take a Monday hiatus, and then it's going to be your typical week, because they added the 3 days, for an 8-day celebration of everything Western Montana. Fairs, they have a the Dirt Lords, where they're going to have dirt bikes and all fun things happening throughout the weekend at the grandstands at the Missoula Fairgrounds. They have Sir Optimus Bingo. Just a lot of fun things happening this weekend and beyond. You know, Historic Museum at Fort Missoula, you got to support them by buying some of their cheese curds, and even helping some of the Rainbow Girls buying some of their corn on the cob on a stick. So enjoy some of that stuff while we kick off the weekend of fair. And we can expect cooler temperatures to happen on Sunday. Finally, we're going to get down to the highs in the 70s on Sunday, which I'm definitely happy about moving forward. So before I jump in, I also wanted to mention that MCAT will be hosting kind of like a used media sale sometime in November, and I mention that now because we're also going to be accepting donations of old VHSs, old DVDs, make sure they're not home movies, old video games. So this is like a used media sale, and we're going to do a used media sale to help raise funds for MCAT. We've never really done any kind of major fundraising efforts. We've relied very much on our own franchise fees, which is the cable subscribers who are able to get us on Spectrum Channel 189 and 190. And then I just put it up online on YouTube, just kind of put it out there in the world, just to prove that we're getting out there and trying to spread the word of different various things. So as we jump into City Council, I want to give some backgrounds to a public comment that has been very prevalent in the City Council meetings, and I want to go over it before I jump into City Council, because this is something that's kind of been ongoing even after the city decided to vote to develop on the Midtown Commons. So for some of this, I have noticed a movement growing in the Midtown Commons, gathering up resources to essentially call out the City of Missoula for selling this parcel in bad faith, and have taken some legal action against the city. I cannot directly speak on this because I wouldn't do the residents justice in this, but plainly speaking, they've gone to not in my backyard, to not enough being done for the affordability crisis in Missoula, and supporting the missing middle to protecting the cottonwood trees, ultimately leading to the official sale of the land that was passed over a month ago now, and being a legal issue for the city. I think I covered the basic information, but there's more to it. They started a Facebook page. It's pretty small right now, but for right now, they're working on this. But however, I will focus on the City Council's main topic item that actually brought in the county commissioners, and this is the green initiatives, otherwise known as green tariffs, the city wants to do. Their Green New Deal for reducing city-owned property energy by net zero by 2030, working with Northwest Energy to work on getting their systems ready for this transition. Solar panels, wind, anything to help reduce any carbon emissions and energy usage. So Mayor Davis spoke on this a little bit more with the joint meeting with the county commissioners.
In addition to the City of Missoula, the County of Missoula, but the City of Bozeman is the third local government in the state of Montana that has agreed to participate in the creation of this green power program along with Northwestern Energy. And so these three communities have been working together diligently for years to get to the end goal, which is not today. This is a significant milestone to get to the point where we are able to celebrate the fact that we will be bringing on more green energy, whether that be solar or whether that be wind or another green source, to help deliver sustainable energy to our constituents and our community members.
All right, and so Mayor Davis also mentioned that since 2018, the city has been floating the idea of green tariffs for folks that can opt in through this community-wide program, and they have staff deliver the presentation. As you saw, the county commissioners were in attendance this meeting there. This isn't the first time they hosted a joint meeting together, but this is not just a city initiative, but the county is looking to utilize this as well, since county land is vast, and being able able to utilize that for potential solar, wind, and anything like that to help bolster energy use in the city and the county of Missoula. And so Charlie Lane with Northwestern Energy talks about their part of this program.
It's been a few years since I was here in early 24 for the adoption of the term sheet. I do see a few familiar faces and a few not familiar faces, which I think is a testament to how long this program has been ongoing and all the work that has gone into getting this program to the point where we are at today. So Northwestern Energy appreciates the opportunity to work with the communities and with customers on seeking additional options to meet their sustainability goals. At its core, this green program is about customer options. As you will hear from the presentation this afternoon, this has been a long but thorough process to get to where we are today.
All right, and a big part of this, especially when it comes to customers who opt into this green tariff, it allows you to build credit for the energy that you produce through your home's solar power array, as they call them. And anytime the city does these private-public partnerships, there's a lot of investment from the public sector to work with the current system and encourage green development for their electrical grid. As demands increase, putting a strain on the current system and adding an off-ramp for traditional energy consumption is a no-brainer. So Ann Geiger, Strategic Initiatives Manager, talks about the Green Power Program, otherwise known as GPP.
The City and County of Missoula view the GPP as a key strategy toward reaching our joint 100% clean electricity goal. The GPP on its own is not enough to meet our goal, but it's the most significant opportunity available to us. Early calculations showed that participating in the GPP would bring the Missoula community 10% closer to our goal, while most solutions fall in the realm of 1%. The GPP is an important piece of the puzzle, so we're excited to be here tonight with this milestone.
Yep. And so, yeah, I mean, while many of us have created, solar panels just on the roof to help offset some of the costs through this program, and to have Northwest Energy opt onto this, there's a way to meter and even further invest in solar energy to go back to the grid and use that as a potential energy credit to help pay for winter months when there's not so much sun, so you don't have, because the thing is, you can't solely rely on solar panels unless they live in the boonies and you have some kind of degree of like things and stuff like that. Heck, if you haven't read some stories, sometimes for people trying to homestead, they deal with some major legal issues when it comes to water taps and sewer or integrations of the grid as a whole. So none of this would be mandatory, the green tariffs, but the ability to opt into this program would be easier from a residential commercial standpoint as the city aims to use this program for their benefit. And so far, we're able to cover, since 2018, the whole net zero process. They had reduced their energy footprint by 10%, and then in the last couple of years. And the shining example is one of the largest solar arrays in the state 4 years ago when it was installed at the Missoula County Jail. So if you look at Missoula County Jail solar panel array, you can see all the solar panels splattered across the entirety of the roof. And this is a 2-acre property just off of Mullen Road. Shannon Anderson, energy specialist, talks a little bit more about some of the details with this.
Is an opportunity for utility customers to subscribe to renewable energy through a special rate or tariff on their electric bill. It is not a tax. It also isn't a new concept, and programs like this exist across the country. This has proven to be a very strong approach to drive the build out of new renewable energy resources, especially among commercial and institutional buyers who are intentionally pursuing clean energy. Importantly, these programs operate in a way where the costs and benefits of the program are firewalled within the tariff itself. So there is not an impact to anyone who chooses not to participate.
Yep. Yeah, the federal government, unfortunately, is not so interested in the typical of Green New Deals, and through green tariffs, folks are incentivized to get floating credit for power generated through solar/wind that can be used to help reduce costs year-round. Yep, and of course, throughout the meeting, they brought up many folks with many more titles to whoop this program up. And as we get reactions from City Council, we'll start with Josh Slotnick from the County Commissioners talking about the importance of having this program.
The urgent often outweighs the important. And the fact that these folks stuck with this for going on 7, 8 years, when what was in front of them every day would push most people away. This is the essence of commitment and partnership. And we all just owe a huge debt of gratitude for you all for not giving up. And I know we're only partway through that process. There are a bunch of bullets left to go and more reasons why this thing will fail than it will succeed. But if we keep behaving as these folks did, we are stacking the odds towards success.
All right, and that was Josh Slotnick talking about the importance of this. And we're going to jump over to public comment, and here's Judy Matson from the Bonner community talking about their support for this.
1, it will contribute significantly to achieving the city-county goal of 100% clean energy for the Missoula urban area by 2030. 2, renewable energy, wind and solar, is widely recognized as the least expensive electricity generation resource. Its variability can be minimized by adding battery storage. The Green Power Program is an excellent opportunity to demonstrate the feasibility of large-scale renewable generation in Montana.
All right. And then as we get further down, we also have more public comment from Lacey Aker, Families for a Livable Climate, gave her comment on this.
Multiple local governments, a private utility, and lots of folks across multiple communities, all with different mandates, different pressures, different reasons to be cautious, all putting in the hard work of figuring out how to land in the same place. I know that we didn't land here by accident. It's the result of dedicated public servants, engaged community members, and years of hard work. I don't necessarily think that it's my place to weigh in on the fine print. I am a social worker, a mental health professional, and a community organizer. And there are energy policy experts and legal professionals who can speak to the nitty-gritty much more eloquently than I. But what I can speak to is how big of a deal it is to actually watch such collaboration take such strides, hold up across multiple competing interests, and land in a place that gives us hope for our collective future.
All right. And that's pretty much the end of that topic and currently the rebate that's a good note to leave on as the future step. Anticipated in fall 2026, Missoula County, cities of Missoula and Bozeman, and Northern Energy file the Green Power Program with the Montana Public Service Commission. So as of right now, all the municipalities are in agreement to move forward with this. Now they just need to get through the Public Service Commission. Whew, that'll be interesting. But anyways, I also wanted to mention as well, this is more of an update from the city's website where they're creating a rebate of up to $3,000 for customers who want to replace their service line next to their home. The proposed changes will do a rebate of $1,500 for replacing the main to curb box and also $1,500 for replacing the curb box to house. In order to incentivize full replacement, this is for property owners who own the line that connects to the infrastructure the resident owns, but the resident/owner is responsible for. Not quite like sidewalks, since you don't own the right of way, but you are responsible for maintaining the sidewalk and making sure it's clear. The main lines is owned by the property owner, and it is connected to the grid that provides water, sewer, and all that stuff. And so $3,000 rebate for replacing it is available. Just wanted you guys to know that. Let's talk about some public safety and health. They're giving an update on fire station number 6, and they found a place for it. They found a new place for it. This is essentially on the same block face, or the same kind of block face where the Sovereign Hope Church is, formerly the Coca-Cola plant bottling is. And so they're going to be kind of on the other half where the majority of the parking lot is on the end of it, just kind of like blocking or right in front of where they have that one MCPS old former school location. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Lifelong Learning Center. That's where Lifelong Learning Center is, just off of 3rd Street. So that's where they're planning to build this. And so Lonnie Rash, the fire chief for the city of Missoula, spoke about the process of purchasing.
The first purpose of this meeting today is to really authorize the acquisition of that property, to consider the approval of that purchase of that land. We do have online Annalise Hedall, who is with ERA Lambros Real Estate, who has helped us through the process. We did some definite work in terms of comparables, and then we believe we landed in an appropriate place for the purchase of that. We also wanted to provide you with a project update so that there is some progress of where we are moving and where we are headed with that. I did share in the packet some of the conceptual design conversation, which is the initial part of programming, and then some of the overall project timeline items with that. So we do have Ben Erickson and Matt Seedorf from 45 Architecture, who is our architect, and we have Gunnar Gladdick, who is out of Rice Fergus Miller, who is really focused and specializes in fire station design across the West and across the nation. So,
all right, and so there's just a lot of things moving forward in this process. They finally found the land they want to use, and I have an inside track because part of these updates will also include a small historic installation of one of the first fire trucks in Missoula on display. This is currently located at the Historic Museum at Fort Missoula. I'm on the Friends board, and I heard recently that they're going to technically have a lease program with the fire station to let them to lend out. The Historic Museum is going to own the fire truck. And this is the French fire engine from way back when, over 100 years old. This is actually one of the first donations that the Historic Museum of Fort Missoula got. And the fire station wanted to actually build a replica of the French fire engine. And it's pretty kind of cool looking for sure. You think it's like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen's, like there's like the really cool car from that movie. I know, it's kind of stretch, but it's a red fire engine. It really looks like one of those supersized luxury cars, but for the most part, it looks really cool. And the fact that the fire department is actually looking to use that as a installation as they update many of their other properties along the way. And so Lonnie also talks about the building, that building the station is playing catch up with the demands of service. And this is what he had to say.
And so construction of Station 6 at the proposed location will enhance the system-wide emergency response capability for us. And then it will also, what we did is we evaluated the site and had multiple factors within that. And where is the best site for that? In response times, geographic barriers, population density, and then where's projected development to unload or reduce the load on some of the other fire stations. So again, a system-wide.
All right, and then be part of that is the fact that they want to be able to respond to emergencies within the city within 6 to 7 minutes. It is pretty interesting, but think about it in terms of like, if your service area is not up to date, insurance rates go up, everything goes up, and so crucial rules of having emergency services up to snuff, so to speak. Lonnie also talks about the site by Sovereign Hope Church and actually has a rendering of the site. This is not what it's going to look like, but this is kind of the idea of what they're going to be utilizing.
That is really the location that we'd be looking at. And again, just a conceptual drawing of what the fire station location and parking require. Again, no parking required specifically, but ensure that we have enough access and apparatus. There is that piece of property is able to be acquired. There is, if you look at the buy-sell agreement, there is a little bit of a nuance that I wanted to share with you. And so it is an access easement issue, but it's also a positive for the fire department. So the seller will retain approximately 26 feet on the north side of that piece of property. Now, the property behind that is Missoula County Public Schools. So they have that property, and so we don't have any direct negotiation with them at all. But what you see on the top of this photograph here, where my cursor is that there is the easement for that vehicle travel. And so to the right of that, there's actually a North Coast electrical supply. They have about 8 to 10 trips a week, but they had to put in a bridge going over the creek that sustained heavier traffic. And so we would have vehicles going across that.
All right. So there's just a lot of opportunity with that site. And they're just giving some renderings, some things like that. We always tend to forget a lot of the drainage coming out of the Clark Fork River in most areas, which is why they're having that heavy-duty bridge in that particular area as it pertains to flood mitigation. And not to mention having the idea that they already needed to update it for heavy machinery because, work trucks, semis, and stuff like that, technically have used that as a throughway. So having that updated bridge beforehand is a cost benefit for the city of Missoula. And the purchase price shall be $27 per square feet with a total area not to exceed $2.3 million and more specifically $2,352,040. Higher than expected, but most costs for fire departments are a slave to the duopoly that manufactures engines that are typically 200 to 250,000 markups. And of course, since June of this year, an ongoing lawsuit claiming costs have been more than double over the last decade, not related to station purchase, but making you aware that engines in general are basically price gouging communities from buying new engines and emergency vehicles, thus putting the cost burden to the taxpayer. I didn't really want to talk too much about that, but it does bear repeating because everything gets more expensive, and building this facility is going to be a lot cheaper than buying the engine that would go in there. Christian Jordan, City Council, talks about e-bikes and e-scooters as they pose a growing issue in Missoula that's kind of been forgotten about, and the can's been kicked down the road so many times, and so Christian Jordan, City Council, kind of spearheaded this information topic.
New device categories are present on Missoula streets and trails today. We're seeing electric unicycles, e-skateboards, stand-up scooters. Some of them can operate at 30 miles per hour, and we don't have any local regulatory framework to address these. Enforcement is currently operating off a combination of ordinance text, an unenforceable yet very helpful 2019 FAQ from the Parks Department, and informal practice. These are inconsistent and create ambiguity for riders, police, and park staff.
And so the whole point of this is trying to find a policy to be like, hey, you can't do that. Where in the law says you can't do that? It doesn't. Well, then you can't tell me what to do. There you go. That's the commonality of what's going on here. And it's not beyond the realm of possibility that all recent all-terrain vehicles riding on the trail near Kiwanis Park had sparked new interest. If you haven't seen on the old Missoula subreddit, a couple weeks ago, they basically stopped a ATV, souped-up ATV vehicle that was riding on the trails next to Kiwanis Park. There were like 4 or 5 police vehicles riding on the lawn of Kiwanis Park to stop this person from doing it. And, you know, national parks also have their own rules on this, but Christian Jordan talks about the state level and how they've addressed this.
The primary reasons it failed are on trail access grounds, not e-bike opposition. Adopting the 3-class framework would have classified e-bikes as non-motorized vehicles statewide. Conservation groups argued that this would have automatically opened non-motorized trails to e-bikes without requiring local land managers to make that determination.
Yep, and now you can kind of see the difficulties of regulation, because if you define something, you have to have rules around that something. But if you don't define something, you have no rules around it, and then it becomes kind of like the Wild West. But it's very much like there's no rules against it, there's no rules for it. So it's like one of those things where it's just like you're not allowed to have any kind of vehicles whatsoever on national trails, and we're not going to include motorized vehicles or even bother to get off our butts to figure out what we're going to do with these electronic vehicles. So Christian Jordan also talks about enforcement education with Betty Kratzky and also a city council member, and they do a little back and forth.
We have e-riders everywhere, so hoping to enforce through education. And again, yeah, the speedometer thing was something that I added after looking at my research. If we're having e-bikes that can go faster than code, how are people supposed to know how fast they're going if they can ride on the street? So that's one that can be left out or one that can be considered.
Okay.
Does that cover, do you think, true color? Yep, thanks.
Great. And a follow-up on that, I guess, would be, maybe I'm throwing myself under the bus on this one, but I was riding a non-e-bike recently on a commuter trail and have a computer on my bike, and I try to be really cognizant of pedestrians and going really slow, but knowing that even when I felt like I was going slow, I was going 15 miles an hour. And so I guess in hand with, there are people who are going far faster than the speed limit on those commuter trails in general on any bike. And so how do we foresee kind of that along with this enforcement?
Yeah, again, that's going to be part of the education and outreach. And when I was talking to Director Yoshioka, you had some really great ideas about how they do education in Japan and make it kind of a fun reminder of, you know, if you can't talk, then you're going too fast or something along those lines. So it would definitely be, we're going to be relying on education and outreach more than anything. And indicators that help people figure out how fast they're going, because I too was surprised. My normal speed's about 15, 20 miles an hour. And right now we have a rule that says you can go 10 miles an hour, which feels really slow. So.
All right, and so yeah, there's definitely a lot of things going on, and who knows? This might turn into something, but as of right now, this is just an informational thing, basically being like, we should do something. You're right, we should do something. Here are the rules that other communities have done so far. How can we implement it in Missoula? That's kind of how the process of these ordinances and changes in policy kind of start off, being like, what communities did it well, and how can we do it that matches our own town? And so this is what I like to call a copy and paste ordinance, where they just figure out how they did it well in other communities and they just implement it in ours. And so far, I haven't heard too much about this and that. I know that the Bike Ped pedestrian board that meet on Tuesdays is working on something. I'm not entirely sure. I remember Ben Weiss, the bike czar of Missoula, was kind of heeding the call back in the day, and I haven't heard anything since then, and it seems like Christian Jordan is now jumping on board for this. So as we move on to housing, redevelopment, and community planning, they're tackling a survey about housing and the tenants in Missoula for so the Montana Tenants Union and Front Step, Front Step, which used to be the North Side group that was highly about helping people find affordable housing solutions, and then they basically became citywide. So far, the biggest takeaway from the residents is 46% they are severely cost burdened compared to 30% who are just regular cost burdened. And what that necessarily means is that being cost burdened is if you pay more than 30% or 1/3 of your income, you are technically cost burdened, compared to severely cost burdened, which is about half, which would be anywhere between 33%, maybe 45 to 50% would be severely cost burdened. And that seems to be the majority, or 76% of the people taking the survey say that they are cost burdened. So they're spending more on rent than they're getting in terms of income. You pay $1,200 to $1,500 to live alone in Missoula. You better be making at least $40,000 a year, but that only covers half your income that goes to rent. So that would be severely cost burdened. That's roughly about $20 to $25 an hour if you're paying that. If you're getting paid that, if you're not getting taken out through income tax and stuff like that. So there's some of the background as we jump into the presentation. Jana Richter from Front Step talks about their findings on this survey, and this is what she had to say about that.
2/3 of current renter households fall into lower income ranges, and over 1/3 have very or extremely low incomes. This is important to note, especially because throughout the survey, a lot of the stats you'll see, in pretty much every avenue, whether it's instability or barriers to finding or maintaining housing, lower income residents were disproportionately impacted and experienced these issues to higher degrees.
No one's getting paid enough in Missoula as much as they should be to match up with COLA, otherwise known as cost of living adjustment. Renters are often overlooked, and when these issues are, most of the renters felt their voices felt diminished in our community, as opposed to homeowners and commercial businesses owners. Property management takes up the lion's share of renter properties, with a couple of residences acting as long-term rentals, whether they are second homes for some folks who are retired out of state. Jana reflects on some of those cost burdens, and this is what she had to say.
Cost burden was a huge one. It was really widespread, impacting over half of the renters that we surveyed, and disproportionately impacted students, renters with disabilities, and parents and caretakers, many who are severely cost burdened, so meaning, cost burdened, they pay 30% or more of their income on rent, and severely being 50% or more on rent. This should be especially concerning considering what options these folks have in our housing market currently.
That was just more informational stuff being presented there. Cost of living adjustment is the main state issue as pay in Missoula hasn't quite caught up to having, like I said, the $20 to $25 an hour job is what a $12 an hour job would be in pre-pandemic era in the U.S. economy. To put in perspective, the state reevaluated in 2021, which resulted in your property taxes going up more than 40%, contributed to that. Jana also mentioned that they have more than 4 times over the last 4 years alone. They've moved 4 times over the last 4 years, and they're the one presenting through the Missoula Tenants Union. So they have the inside track, and yet they're still struggling to be able to pay the rent or be able to have a more permanent location. And adding to the struggle of everyday renters in Missoula, many are working full-time or more, meaning they either work a minimum of 40 hours a week or to go 60 just to keep their status quo in Missoula. So there's that weird kind of potential. And not to mention, most jobs are not hiring more than 30 hours a week, and then they cut hours like crazy just so they can make their own bottom line. Janet also talks about the people's stories that were part of this survey and talks a little bit more about this background.
This should be especially concerning. I think if there's any stat that punched me in the gut the most, it was this one. Just the sheer number of folks who are afraid to experience a gap in housing, even if they're full-time workers. This quote, "I love Missoula with all my heart, but the amount of time and belly aches I spend preemptively worried about the day something happens to my housing situation is a kind of chronic stress I know wears on my body and brain." It's impacting everyone, and it just shows that employment is not insulating folks from risk of houselessness. And when we think about the lessened resources that Missoula has for folks who are on our streets right now just trying to survive, this should be really considered when we think about the types of further upstream solutions that can keep people in their homes.
Yeah, and I remember, I can even quote myself in saying this 2-3 years ago. I was decrying that Missoula is having a new population of people living out of their cars. That's even more invisible than the people living on the street because, you see their tents, you see all that stuff. But when you look at a car, you don't really think too much about it because they're just parked there. But when you start seeing, I suggest you start looking at, I don't suggest you stare into people's cars, but if you're just driving around town and you have a free moment to kind of look around, look inside some of the cars and see how much they're stacked with stuff. Some people are just living out of their cars, and essentially live in Missoula as a renter sucks. And part of the next survey from Montana Tenants Union also brought Tenants Union to the forefront of this issue. And Brenna Gradis, Missoula Tenants Union, talk a little bit more about their findings.
That we've heard stats like this in national surveys and even state surveys, but now we have this Missoula-specific, renter-specific survey that we would like you to please feel free to cite in conversations with community partners, in grant applications. It's there as a resource for you, and we would be very happy if you're able to use it. And something else I wanted to bring up today is something that tenants and I think city governments and local governments in general have in common a lot of the times, which can be a perceived sense of powerlessness. We as renters have been told in the last, 5-10 years as things have been getting worse. But before that, if you have a terrible lease, if your lease is broken, if your rent has increased to the point where you can no longer afford to live in that unit or in this town or in this state, that you're screwed, basically. And as things have gotten worse over the last few years, tenants have come together to say, we cannot afford this financially. We can't afford this in terms of our health and our children and our communities. And we've gotten together to think in creative ways to make it survivable to live here in Missoula and in the state.
Yep, and then, even talking about childcare itself, $20,000 to $25,000 a year on basic childcare costs for most people on average, just so the parent can technically go to work to basically spend half of their paycheck just so they can send their kid to daycare and they don't get to see their kid. So it's one of those weird things too, because the cost estimate is about $800 a month for the low end and $2,700, which is the high end, which is anywhere between $9,000 to $32,000 a year in childcare costs. Imagine the madness of picking up between your career and having kids. I mean, I get it. There's Head Start, which is a great program for anybody who is from 3, 4, and older, but that only qualifies if you're income qualified. And there's a lot of big people, even I know, that just make a little bit too much, even though they're not making enough to live by, which is kind of an oxymoron. So anyways, Brenna also spoke about the tenants union and their power growing in the city of Missoula and generally Montana.
A lot of press nationally too for the creative ways that tenant unions have been creating solutions. And in many ways, tenant unions are very much still the Wild West, unlike labor unions, where there are a lot of formal bargaining processes, a lot of state and federal laws. And compared to other areas of Montana law, the landlord, tenant, and mobile home lot rental acts are actually pretty brief. So on one hand, this means there aren't a lot of tenant protections, but on the other hand, it also means there's enormous room for experimentation, innovative partnerships, and trying ideas that haven't been tried before.
And, one success story is Harvey. Not Harvey, Harvey too, but Travois is the main example I'm trying to get from. And the Travois Village is the mobile park that has more than 200 mobile units there that have a big community there. And part of this is their advocacy and bargaining and tenants and stuff like that, even threatening to have a rent strike in their particular village. Through the advocacy and bargaining, they were able to cap any kind of rent increases by $19. It's kind of crazy. And a notice to the city as a whole, because Bozeman also saw a powerful and influential tenants union to take down their long-term incumbent mayor over the course of the last decade to focus on affordable housing solutions. While the impact wasn't immediately felt, they established their stronger affordable housing things and started doing vouchers through the sense of HUD on a national level since August of 2023. Mind you, Missoula has been using Missoula Housing Authority as the pretense through HUD, which it does those Section 8 vouchers and all that stuff, since 1978. So Bozeman just started in 2023 to do more streamlined HUD vouchers type stuff. So it's kind of crazy that they started their whole tenants union at such a grassroots level, and then they changed Bozeman to a certain degree. I'm not saying like Bozeman's like overnight success, but it is one of those things where the tenants union became so influential that they were able to back some candidates to a point where now their own city is being run differently. So they actually reinvented how their local government is being done since this major change, the seismic change that happened during the basically the pandemic era. And also, before we wrap up, this is kind of like the last quote I have from you, and this is Brenna, once again talking about advocacy for tenant groups.
Priority, and is planning to convene a tenant protection working group. Our hope is that this group doesn't become a series of meetings where we agree on what the housing problems are. I feel like we know a lot of what's going on, and hopefully, the survey solidifies some of this data. But we do hope this becomes a place for solutions, and we'd love to partner in developing some of those solutions and be able to offer our expertise in that working group. Whether that's encouraging model leases for landlords to adopt, or creating more tenant-friendly application practices, dedicating more affordable housing trust fund resources toward tenant protections, or just finding proactive ways to prevent displacement before people end up needing homelessness services.
Yeah, and also this is more or less of a notice to landlords in the city of Missoula, property managements in general, is that because of these higher costs of living that are happening in the renters in Missoula, there's definitely, and not to mention the growth of a union, a tenants union in general, because Missoula never really thought to really have these kind of tenants union in the first place, and only became a prevalent thing with Travois Village, Harvey, and heck, even that other place, North Star, which came to city council to plead their case about their rents going up like crazy. And so we'll leave you with that. And frankly, there are great ways for city council members to utilize federal capital grants to help launch programs similar to Not Related to NeighborWorks, which works with Heritage Park landlords to sell their parcels to current occupancies, an affordable housing trust fund through the tenants union as a pool of cash that can be used for rental assistance. Human Resource Council have always been a good source for folks looking to help alleviate costs on heating in the winter and even help with your water bills, electricity as well. Those are some of the short ends of it. And as we move from the city council, we have some fun videos for you guys being featured on an MCAT this week, which also includes the 5-year anniversary of the very building that we're standing in right now. I'm standing in right now, but regardless, here is all the fun things, all the new programs airing on MCAT. You can watch it on 189, or you can watch it right now on our YouTube page at MCAT TV Missoula.
So 5 years ago, MPL opened this remarkable new building with one hope, that it would belong to everyone. Today, as we celebrate our 5th birthday, it's clear that what we built together is so much more than a library. It's a community. People often talk about this building because it's won so many architecture awards and it's so amazing and beautiful, which we are so proud of. But what makes this library really special is the people that fill it every day. So that's what we're here to celebrate. Our all under one roof model brought different organizations together in this building that have different missions and different staff, but we all have the same belief that working together makes our community much more strong and stronger. Yeah, yay. Those partners who we could not have done this without are Spectrum Discovery Area, Spectrum Discovery Museum, Families First, yay! The UM Living Lab, and MCAT Media Resource. Let's give them a round of applause.
Other aspects about the atmosphere, the architecture that kind of would lend to that ability for you guys?
I've actually taken my friends from out of state here to specifically show them our beautiful library. And it sounds like I work here because I'm always just like, but yeah, I feel like the lighting in particular and just like all of the different places you can sit upstairs on those like little moss balls. You can sit and be calm, and like all the way up on the 4th floor where there's not typically anyone and there's the deck. I feel like it's just like a perfect place. You can find any spot you need if you need to be quiet or if you need to go have fun or all of the things.
And I think there are some thoughts about doing a corner of this or part of this as a lookout. So as you got up here, you could see the firefinder and some of the other materials, but it's right now just open as a kind of we can just walk around, you can get a big view, and we can take a good look down at the campus and the building. There's the air tanker, unique view of a full-fledged air tanker. Now I think you said that you remembered that as being the gift shop, and that'll be restored as a full-time ranger station. And so as authentic as it can be, which will be a nice addition. To the left of that, which is looks just like a toilet, and it is, but it's a sweet-smelling toilet.
I think about this a lot because, and I think this is one of the reasons that he's so important. Is that in a number of ways, like I think. He was a failure by certain like public measures. He didn't have a great a super strong public persona. He wasn't particularly fond of speaking in public. He didn't have this. He didn't have an Instagram account. I don't know if you guys know that. And when I started thinking about how could we do something like this, and this is even before I had ever spoken to Lois about this festival, I actually looked up Jim on YouTube and I could not find a single thing. That may have changed, but I mean it seems kind of doubtful. He doesn't really exist online in any substantial way, and that's very interesting to me.
We got some movies that are coming out this weekend. It's time for Pre-critic, where I prejudge a movie based on nothing but my biases towards movies. Kicking things off, as always, we got the big movie that's coming out this weekend that all the other movies don't really matter because it's the old Spider-Man. You want to go see the old Marvel, son? Well, we welcome back Tom Holland in the latest and one of the longest swinging Spider-Man, now in his 30s. Yeah, watch as we kind of do a soft reboot, but with most of the same people, with most of the same dilemmas of, I gotta protect my friends from my enemies. I make being Spider-Man, working with the same friends who he put in danger again. Watch him make new mistakes as we venture into the fourth of possibly a new trilogy, which it sounds like. Scorpion's in it, not Mortal Kombat. I mean, but Punisher is there, who shoots first, asks questions later, and I guess there's ninjas in red who fight Spider-Man. Enjoy another MCU film that is probably going to do well because it is the IP that is Spider-Man. I don't expect anything like that, but this next movie is called I Want Your Sex. It's supposed to be like a modern day erotic thriller, so think anger management with Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler, but make it about sexy stuff. This untamed intern starts hooking up with the lady boss and becomes her sex slave, not since a sexy thriller comedy drama thing, but I'm pretty sure some movies try to dip into erotic thrillers now and again. But with Spider-Man coming out, your boyfriends are going to probably be fuming if you make them go see this movie. Then we got Sheep in a Box. Yes, this very Philip K. Dick's Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep comes a very story about a robot boy as he never gets his place in the universe and Japan. Think about it as AI, artificial intelligence, but with a Japanese kind of spin to it. This near future story about a young robot becomes an avatar for a son they never had. So we have a reluctant daddy issues as the patriarch got the kid as a means to make his wife happy, as they have a hole in their home and heart in this drama about loneliness in Japan culture, as the Western media really likes to remind us that Japanese people's birth rate is plummeting. Okay, we get it. Up next, we have a fun video for you guys. This is a video from our summer camps. No, I did not do dub and stuff. I'm sorry, but I probably won't do dub and stuff probably until I wrap up our summer season. We'll probably start doing that sometime in the fall after I get done showing you some of these fun videos that the kids have made that I'm very proud of, helping them make these fun movies. And so without further ado, here is Banana Man, the anime.
Okay guys, the lonely loser on the bench all by herself. Look at those shoes. You look like you were just rolling in the dirt. Why are you being so rude? Why are you saying that about me? Hey, look at this guy. He's holding a banana. Probably that's your lunch, huh? He took all the potassium from my bone. Thank you. Who are you?
バナナの皮で朝を滑る駅のホームで目が合うぜ黄色い影が街を割る指を鳴らして道を開く来たぞみんな下がれ笑う口元もう止まれない一口かじって火がつくぜ合図は一つ今だいけバナナメンバナナメン黄色い稲妻バナナメンバナナメン噛んだら終わりだバナナメンバナナメン今夜も暴れるバナナメンバナナメン
What should I get? Maybe this one. This is weird.
Why are you putting that banana at me?
Hey, you're my usual banana delivery guy. I think I finally lost him.
Banana, banana, nana, 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 banana, banana, nana.
He's more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. He's peeping yellow and strutting around every step. People stare as he passes by.
Banana, banana,
He winked and said, do not slip, I'll try. But believe in me, that living life is a fruit, it is really a grind. And you know, it's not my forte. And you know the thing to do here is be always on the move. Don't let thugs catch you, my guy. And if you start to slip, even a step behind, then you may as well be drowned. Cause the thugs will catch you away. A banana man is my savior. He's saving me from every little thing.
All right. Okay. All right, let's move on. All right, moving on as we talk about some events. I also wanted to mention that every Thursday and Friday starting next week, we'll be accepting old used VHS, DVDs, video games, anything in those kind of media forms. We're going to use that as a pretense to have a used media sale in November, kind of like what they used with the used book sale. We're going to try to utilize that with media and old hard media for people who want to still hold on to the carbon copies of things as we move further and further into the digital age, of which ownership is becoming more of a streaming platform and not actually owning hardline materials. So we're going to be helping promoting this over the next week and beyond. So we're going to keep on asking for folks to donate their old DVDs, VHS, all movies, no home videos, no just extra surplus of stuff here and there. But we're looking for people who want to offload some of their old DVDs and VHS for us to sell and help promote our community and share and swap old movies and used media, and while at the same time helping build MCAT and keep us going for our financial future. And then, of course, kicking off things for Friday morning here at Missoula Public Library, starting at this morning, basically right now throughout the whole entire weekend, the second annual IndigiPalooza for Indigenous people, and they're exploring Resistance 250 Plus, a celebration of ways Indigenous people have resisted, survived, adapted, and thrived in more than 250 years of the United States experiment. Taking place during the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, this year's festival invites participants to consider whose stories are celebrated, stories are omitted, and how Indigenous communities continue to resist colonization while sustaining culture, language, land-based knowledge, and community. And so that's happening 9 a.m. at Missoula Public Library. They have a couple other things happening around town, including the Roxy Theater doing smoke signals. So if you haven't seen that movie, it is a wonderful movie and a great representation of Native American culture in the 90s. Missoula Food Bank meal distribution, as always, happening at 10 a.m. at the Missoula Food Bank. Tiny Tales is going to be at the park, at Westside Park, starting at 10:30 a.m. So you want to join them for a guided reading, and some fun activities along the way with the Missoula Public Library at Westside Park. Guided walking history tours. This is kind of like an online thing, but for the most part, this is a guided walking tour of Missoula through Destination Missoula. So you get to figure out the history of Missoula, listening to these fun things, kind of like where you go to a museum and you plug in your headphones and you listen to the exhibits. Lunch at the Missoula Senior Center. This is a daily event that happens Monday through Friday. Also, the Paul Varela Center hosts their breakfast, dinner, and lunch daily at the Paul holiday, and notwithstanding everything else. butterfly release at the Missoula Butterfly House. This is a great opportunity to see some of the new butterflies that they have being shown off there. For the most part, most butterflies probably have a 2 to 6 week lifespan, various species, and so every couple weeks you go to the butterfly release, you see a whole bunch of new butterflies there at the Missoula Butterfly House. I highly recommend you check that out. We don't have much time, so I'm going to try to breeze through these as we do kids' summer meals at the Missoula Public Library. This is happening daily at the Missoula Public Library at 11:30 a.m. here. Any kids 18 and younger will get free meals courtesy of the Missoula Food Bank throughout the summer. Watercolor and yarns at the Missoula Public Library every Friday on the 4th floor of the Missoula Public Library. We have the Western Montana State Fair starting at noon today, as well as we kick off the Western Montana State Fair for this weekend, and then starting again next Tuesday through Sunday. So there's a lot going on for sure. All Abilities Art Club at Base, Young Adults Writers Group at Missoula Public Library at 3:30 p.m. Learn Computer Animation with Blender, a class that we do here in the studio here at MCAT every Friday and Monday. This is Friday from 4 to 6 and Mondays from 6 to 8 p.m. Learn Computer Animation Blender. This is 3D animation, Pixar, early stuff like that. So if you're interested in doing that kind of stuff, we have an ongoing workshop. You can start at any point. Food Pod. Food truck pod at the Missoula Senior Center. So every Friday at 5:30 p.m. they're doing a food truck pod there. Andy Grammer at the Kettles Amphitheater is playing some music at 6 p.m. You got Artist at the final Friday at the Confluence Center. This is the Western Montana Home for Nonprofit event. This is Torrance is thrilled to prevent a magical evening art, music, and community. They are excited to feature amazing artists from Opportunity Resource. Part of Final Friday, so they're trying to coin a new thing happening for First Friday, but they're doing Final Friday as well. Off-pitch karaoke at Odd Pitch at 6 p.m. Tango Dance Party at Moonlight Studios at 6 p.m. D&D for adults online. This is Missoula Public Library's online guild. Live music with 3-0 at 10 Spoon Winery at 6. Gravy Ladies at Cranky Sam Public House at 6:30 p.m. Karaoke at the Jack Saloon. Jazz Off the Rails at Leaf and Quiet. Nick Shoulders with Forthcoming is performing at Zach tonight at 7 p.m. Lords of Dirt is going to be all weekend long at the Missoula Fairgrounds. Dirt bike races and prizes to be had. Weekend at the Annex, Smoke Signals, like I said, at Roxy Theater at 7:30 p.m. IndigiPalooza is presenting Dead Pioneers at Monks, performing and playing music there. Benevolence at 8 p.m. at the Old Post. Uncle Funk at Union Club at 9 p.m. I gotta watch how I say that, but Saturday markets and such will be happening on Saturdays, as we technically are halfway through the farmers market, which goes well until end of October. IndigiPalooza Day 2 at the Missoula Public Library starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday, as well as MUD, do-it-yourself deck construction workshop. So if you're interested in learning how to make a deck, start at 9 a.m. at MUD, which is next to the Home Resource off of Russell. Let's see, Makerspace walk-in hours. They got 3D printers, sewing machines, laser engravers for wood and crystals and more at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Here at the Public Library's Makerspace. All right, Mountain Roundup at Caris Park. This is a Mountain Roundup, a lively day packed with great music, local flavors, and unbeatable shopping experience in the outdoor setting. Enjoy live music. 1:30 to 4:30 at Kyle Hunter Band at Caris Park. Sip and socialize with Signature Pours, Embers and Vine Mobile Bar, and explore a variety of shopping vendors featuring handmade goods. So it's an extension of Caris of the Farmers Market this Saturday. This is going on from 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. featuring the Kyle Hunter Band. I don't have much time left, so I'm going to kind of breeze through this. MCAT Saturday drop-in is 1 to 3. Saturday Tiny Tales at 3 p.m. at Missoula Public Library, Predator Feeding at Missoula Butterfly House. We have a concert at the Barn at 6:30 p.m. with Martha Scanlon. James Landman at the Old Post at 7 p.m. Lords of Dirt, Night 2 at Fairgrounds. James McMurdy with Betty Sue at Zach. Solitary Karaoke at the West Side Lanes at 9 p.m. Lost in Space music at Monks. Aaron Jennings is performing at Union Club at 9 p.m. Chris Moon is every Saturday at 10 p.m. And, you know, I'm going to not do Sunday just because I wanted to have a couple more minutes to talk about a lot of the news that was missed over the last couple weeks, because it seems like big news out of Missoula County is that the county has basically put a year moratorium on AI data centers. They don't get enough information from Crambu, as the AI company failed to submit their proposal to the county more than 6 times, and the county was just like, we just don't know what you're doing. You seem like you want to start a small one, but then there's rumors that you're going to kind of blow up and expand, but we're still unsure about this. And on the other side of notes, Ryan Sudsbury was seeking litigation with Northwest Energy, so energy costs from data centers do not fall into the customers if the data centers were to be a major thing. And of course, the final nail in the coffin was the general manager of Bonner Mill Industrial Park, Mike Hensey, who withdrew his signature on Cranboo's application after hearing the public's concern about the proposed facility potential impacts on the environment. Of course, Mike did speak at the Bonner Community Council meeting during, and you can watch on MCAT as well, and he also has mentioning that as long as he has renters, it doesn't matter who leases the various buildings on the former Stimson Mill. Sorry. Anyways, that's pretty much it for me. I just want to give you the brief overview of that. I ran out of time. I spent a lot more time on City Council than I meant to, but for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp. Take care, everyone.